Star Trek just gave one of the original series' underrated aliens a much-needed makeover. Star Trek just gave one of the original series' most underrated aliens a much-needed makeover. Throughout Captain Kirk's first 5-year mission, the Enterprise encountered numerous alien races, some of them powerful, and not all of them entirely friendly. Now, in Star Trek, Lower Decks #2, an alien race fulfilling those criteria makes a grand return and receives a modern makeover in the process. Star Trek, Lower Decks #2 is written by Ryan North and drawn by Derek Charm. Mariner, Boimler, and the rest of the Lower Deckers have been suddenly transported to the surface of a mysterious planet. After a short while, the truth stands revealed. They've been abducted by the Excalibans, a species first appearing in the original series. The telepath, rock-like Excalibans seek to better understand human nature, and to this end, they force the Lower Deckers to fight holographic recreations of famous Starfleet personnel. They will then broadcast the fights across the galaxy to other Excalibans. Star Trek, Lower Decks, both the television program and comic book, traffic in deep cuts from across the franchise, and it gets no deeper than the Excalibans. Introduced in Star Trek's 3rd season, in the episode titled The Savage Curtain, the Excalibans abduct Kirk and a handful of officers. It was the first contact between the Excalibans and the Federation, and the former was curious about the new arrivals. The Savage Curtain famously opens with former United States President Abraham Lincoln zipping in space towards the Enterprise before their kidnapping. It was a harbinger of the weirdness to come. Once on the planet, Kirk and company are joined with Lincoln, who turned out to be a holographic envoy sent by the Excalibans, who were forced to fight recreations of evil people from history, and Star Trek, Lower Decks #2 mirrors this plot. In The Savage Curtain, the Excalibans recreate other famous, good, and noble people to help Kirk, such as Lincoln and Surik, a famous Vulcan philosopher. Among the bad guys were Genghis Khan and the Klingon messiah Kallus. The two teams fought, and in the end, Kirk's moral nature impressed the Excalibans, and they were free to go. The Excalibans embodied a dichotomy. They were an advanced race living on the surface of a seemingly inhospitable world, a sign of their great power. The Excalibans never made another canonical, on-screen appearance, making them another great unknown in the Star Trek universe. This is a shame, as the Excalibans were one of the more intriguing and certainly more exotic species Kirk and his crew encountered. The Excalibans did not look like any other type of race Kirk had met thus far. Their rock-like appearance sets them apart from the likes of the Klingons or the Romulans. The Excalibans embodied a dichotomy. They were an advanced race living on the surface of a seemingly inhospitable world, a sign of their great power. The Excalibans shared another trait common with many alien races in the original series. They possessed fantastic, almost godlike telepathic powers. They were able to read the minds of Kirk and company, as well as create stunning lifelike replicas of people they had never met before, seemingly out of thin air. How the Excalibans were able to create these replicas was never revealed, furthering the mystery. The Enterprise meets a number of ancient and powerful races, and the Excalibans rank among the weirdest and the most terrifying. Fortunately, Kirk was able to reason with them. Star Trek has always been known for its incredible world building, exploring alien species with complex cultures and deep philosophical themes. However, not every alien race from the original series, TOS, received the same level of development as the Klingons, Vulcans, or Romulans. Some were introduced in a single episode and then largely forgotten until now. One of these underrated aliens has just received a major makeover in the modern Star Trek era, revitalizing their legacy and giving them the narrative depth they always deserved. This unexpected but welcome return shows how the franchise continues to evolve, taking elements from its past and expanding them for a new generation of fans. The return of the Argelians. Among the many alien species introduced in TOS, the Argelians stood out as a peaceful yet enigmatic race. First appearing in the episode Wolf in the Fold, Season 2, Episode 14, they were depicted as hedonistic, pleasure-seeking beings who had long abandoned violence. Argelian society was built on art, leisure, and tranquility, making them an intriguing contrast to the warlike Klingons or the logical Vulcans. However, their portrayal in TOS was somewhat shallow. The episode focused primarily on a murder mystery rather than fully exploring Argelian culture. Their pacifism and love of pleasure were shown, but little else about their society, history, or deeper philosophy was revealed. For decades, they remained a footnote in Star Trek lore, rarely mentioned in later series. That has now changed. In a surprising move, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds has reintroduced the Argelians, giving them a much-needed cultural and visual update. A modern redesign. The new take on the Argelians keeps their core characteristics, peace-loving, artistic, and deeply spiritual, but adds layers of complexity. Gone are the simplistic depictions of their society as a pleasure-driven utopia. Instead, Strange New Worlds presents them as a civilization that has actively chosen pacifism after a long and violent history, similar to Bajoran's spirituality, but with a unique Argelian twist. The visual redesign also enhances their alien nature. While in TOS they appeared largely human with minimal prosthetics, Strange New Worlds has updated their look to incorporate subtle but distinct alien features, luminescent skin markings, elongated ears, and a slightly different vocal cadence that sets them apart from humans. This small but effective change makes them feel more like a truly alien species rather than just another humanoid civilization. A deeper cultural exploration. One of the most exciting aspects of the Argelians' return is the deeper dive into their culture. Strange New Worlds introduces a central Argelian character, Ambassador Sareva, played by a well-known guest star. Sareva represents a faction of Argelians who believe their pacifism must evolve to adapt to a changing galaxy. Through interactions with Captain Pike and the crew of the Enterprise, we learn that the Argelian commitment to peace is not just a cultural preference, but a deeply ingrained spiritual philosophy. The episode reveals that the Argelians once had a warrior caste, and their ancestors engaged in brutal conflicts that nearly wiped them out. Their transition to pacifism wasn't instantaneous. It was the result of centuries of painful self-examination and a near-cataclysmic war. Now, some among their people fear that their commitment to nonviolence may make them vulnerable in a universe filled with threats like the Gorn and the Romulans. This debate, whether to remain staunchly pacifist or adopt a more pragmatic defense strategy, forms the crux of the episode's conflict. It forces Pike and his crew to engage in a moral debate reminiscent of classic Trek storytelling, where ethics, diplomacy, and cultural understanding take center stage. The legacy of Argelian philosophy. By reintroducing the Argelians in a more nuanced way, Strange New Worlds highlights an important theme in Star Trek: the balance between idealism and pragmatism. Can a civilization dedicated to peace survive in a dangerous galaxy? How do they handle threats without compromising their values? These are questions that resonate beyond the world of Star Trek, touching on real-world debates about diplomacy, pacifism, and military preparedness. The Argelians' return also reinforces how modern Star Trek series have embraced deep character and cultural development, even for species that were previously overlooked. Much like Star Trek, the Next Generation did for the Klingons, turning them from one-dimensional villains into a richly developed culture. Strange New Worlds has taken the Argelians and given them new life. A bright future for the Argelians. With their reintroduction, the Argelians now have the potential to become a recurring presence in the Star Trek universe. Their philosophical struggles make them an excellent candidate for future storylines, whether in Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, or even Star Trek: Discovery. Could an Argelian join Starfleet? Would they face discrimination for their